Hey team, Patrick here, and in today's lesson I want to take an in-depth look at the ball toss on the serve. Now, most players have struggled with their ball toss at some point, and not just at the recreational level, but also at the elite level. It's also the most common issue that players come to me with on their serve, and they say, if only I could toss more consistently, then I'd have a much better serve. Now, there usually is a bit more to it than this, but it is a big factor in determining consistency. And we certainly don't want to be making awkward compensations to adjust for a poor toss. So let's get into it. So firstly, how do we hold the ball? And we don't want to hold it in two extreme positions where we either hold it too much in our palm, where the ball will roll down to our fingers, and this will cause the ball to spin and we'll lose control. If I grab it in my palm and it rolls down off my fingers. We also don't want to hold it in the fingertips. We want to hold it in the base of our fingers in a very natural position where we can place the ball straight up. We also want all of our fingers on the ball for this control. So not too much in the base of our palm, not too much in our fingertips, but in the base of our fingers in a very natural position here. Now, this is the way that I found with players to have the most success, but as with all of this, it needs to be natural and comfortable for you, and we don't want to get into a situation where we're overthinking it or obsessing over all of these minute details. Now we've got the ball in a good position in our hand, I want you to start with your tossing arm directly underneath where you want the ball to end up, which is going to be in line with our lead leg, so my left leg as a right-hander. This is going to be easier for players that are struggling with their toss to control, as it's going to allow me to place the ball straight up, rather than something like a J toss that's going to have my arm moving more parallel with the baseline and give my toss more of an arc, where it's going to rely more on timing. And bring your arm all the way down to your leg, as this is going to give you a longer runway, and we can't be smooth and guide the ball up there if we're only moving our arm over a very short distance, and this is going to lead us to be a lot more jerky and a lot more flicky. We want to keep our arms straight and raise from our shoulder. This is going to be our hinge point, and we don't want to bend our elbow or bend our wrist and flip the ball into the air from the bottom here, as I see from a lot of players, as this is going to be a lot more inconsistent. We want to raise from our shoulder and guide the ball up and place the ball up more slowly. A good reference point for where we release the ball is going to be level with our eyes. So we want to watch the ball and release the ball around eye level, just by opening up our hand and spreading our fingers. It's like the petals of a flower opening up. This is going to give us a very flat release, where the ball is going to come out of our hand with very little spin, which is going to make it easier for us to control. We also want our tossing arm to continue to move up. We don't want to stop. This is going to allow us to keep the same smooth tempo and put us in a better position where we have this tilt in our shoulders, which is going to allow me to get this cartwheeling motion, this shoulder over shoulder action later on in the serve. In terms of the rest of the body and how it moves is also important, as on the serve, everything has to work together. Now, you might have heard this phrase, down together and up together. But really the more modern way is to have the ball toss go first, slightly before the racket, and we get into this position we call racket lag. This can be helpful for players as it allows you to concentrate on the ball toss element of the serve. So players will have their own rhythms, but I like a rhythm of 1, 2, and 3. Where 1, we're going to separate the racket from the tossing arm. 2, the ball toss is going to go up. And 3, the racket's going to come up and through to deliver the hit. You can see that my body will be staying relatively still as I hinge from my shoulder, and there's not too much excessive body movement down and up that's going to cause me to lose control. What you will see from players though is rhythm, a slight weight shift from the back foot to the front foot, as if I keep my weight on my back foot as I toss, the ball is more likely to go behind me. But if I have this rocking motion back to my front foot, it's going to ensure that the ball toss goes back out in front and I can transfer my weight through the serve. So what is the ideal location for our ball toss now that we've got these good mechanics? Well, it's going to be to place the ball to around 12:30 to 1 o'clock on this imaginary clock face in front of us as right-handers. It's going to be just inside the court where I can hit just in front of me and just above where I can reach with full extension, around 6 inches to a foot above where I can reach. As if I place the ball too high, well, I have to hit the ball as it's falling down and it's just picking up more and more speed and my time to hit is actually reduced. And I want to hit the ball just as the ball is beginning to drop. And this gives me maximum time to hit. And we don't want too big a pause in our trophy phase where I'm going to lose rhythm. We also know for recreational players, they can benefit from placing the ball more towards 1 o'clock as they tend to turn more horizontally, whereas more advanced players that have a more vertical shoulder turn, they have a more shoulder over shoulder motion, can place the ball more towards 12 o'clock. And this is something we should be looking to move towards. Now, our ball toss location will change based on what serve we're trying to hit, whether it's more top spin or slice or flat, but we'll cover this more in a future video. It also doesn't need to be inch perfect, where we end up catching the ball all of the time, as we want to gain rhythm and confidence and not upset the players that we're playing with. So we want to imagine it more going through a hoop or a window, where if it's within this area, we're going to go ahead and hit it. But note, if your ball goes into the net, the toss may be too far in front, which is going to close the angle of the racket face too much. And if our ball toss is too low or too far behind us, it's going to open the racket face, resulting in the ball going too high and going long. So if our ball toss is still going crooked, check your release point. And if you're letting go too early, well before eye level, the ball is going to go too far in front. And if you're holding on to the ball for too long, it may start to go more behind you. Having said this, I'm not actually a fan of players practicing their ball toss in isolation from the serve. We've all seen this drill where players put a racket on the ground and they practice their ball toss, trying to get the ball to land on the racket. But the tossing arm has to be synced with the rhythm of the racket arm as well. And players get very good and comfortable at this movement. But as soon as they put it into practice with a serve, the ball suddenly starts to go all over the place again. And I also find players throw the ball at very different heights if they're practicing it in isolation and hitting a serve. So if you're going to practice the ball toss without hitting your serve, you also need to get into the trophy phase or loading phase at the same time. Now, like I say, this isn't the only way to do it, and you will see different styles linked to a player's stance or their rhythm or their particular motion. And if something is working for you, then great. But if you are struggling, then hopefully this has been pretty comprehensive. And if it has helped, please leave the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on court in the next one. Cheers, guys.